Welcome to the Heart, Mind, Body Collective podcast, where heart, mind, and body meet and practice. This podcast has been created for those who are passionate about personal and professional growth, emotional well-being, connection, relationships, and self-mastery. Through conversations with practitioners, hypnotherapists, healers, educators, coaches, and thought leaders, we dive deeper into understanding the human experience. Your host is Rebekah Fisher, doula, hypnotherapist, relationship and mindset coach.
Hi Lisa, thanks for joining me today on the Heart, Mind, Body Collective. And would you like to tell the people listening or watching a little bit about yourself and also how you got into hypnotherapy?
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me. I am also a hypnotherapist, and my speciality is narcissistic abuse or recovery from narcissistic abuse, toxic relationships, dysfunctional family systems, all of those things that go nicely together.
They do.
And that is my
Yes.
specialty. I also do a lot of work around anxiety and depression, but a lot of the time I do find that people who book in to see me for those things do end up having those types of things involved in their story as well. They have a strong belief, which I know a lot of hypnotherapists and a lot of healers have as well, that clients are guided to me because they're supposed to come to me. They're divinely sent to me. I often will have people who book in maybe for nail biting or because they want to reduce their alcohol or because they want to lose weight. But really what's going on with them is that they are either involved in one of these really unhealthy relationships or they're needing or wanting to heal from one of them. And when we do the deeper work, when I get to know them and chat, we find out that, nail biting's not the real thing, is it? It's healing from these relationships that is what is so needed.
Yes, absolutely. That's very powerful work. And how did you get into doing that particular work yourself?
Well, I guess like most people's story, I started out as a client. And I didn't really know anything about hypnotherapy a while ago. My background was in yoga. I'd studied and taught yoga for many, many years, and that was a
Oh,
huge
okay.
passion of mine. And interestingly enough, I love the physical side of yoga, the asana practice,
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
the
I've done a
pranayama
lot of
breathing.
yoga.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it was the science of the mind that really got me. So the
Mm,
Raja Yoga side of it, the philosophy of yoga, using the breath with yoga, and
mm,
it was when I was studying yoga in my early 20s, learning that we have the ability to change how we think and behave and act, and that was what really got me. So then when I was exposed to hypnotherapy, there was this like, aha, this is where everything
yes.
comes together for me. It's all coming together. But I just got invited to a group hypnosis session. My sister invited me along to one, and not really knowing what hypnotherapy was, but I think I might have had a kind of idea. I was like, oh, that sounds really
Yes.
cool. I'll be up for that. And
Yeah.
I went along. I think it was something about healthy eating. And I thought, oh, this is really, really cool. I loved it. And I loved the lady Eileen who ran our session. And I actually had a thought while I was there, this is really cool. This is something that I could do. But then, I kind of forgot all about it, went back to my job at the bank. And my sister invited me to another session with this Eileen as well, a group session. And then afterwards we were chatting. And Eileen made a joke about her ex-husband being a narcissist.
Okay.
And I had years earlier come out of a relationship with a narcissist. And I'd done a lot of counseling. I'd gone back to my yoga and meditation. I'd done women's circles and things like that, but nothing had really helped me. And I really felt that nobody really understood what I'd experienced. And
That's very
which,
common with narcissism.
isn't it?
Yes,
That's
yes.
what so many people tell us
Oh,
who've
it can't
experienced
be
this.
that bad.
Yeah, or all relationships are hard, or nobody's
Yes.
perfect. Yeah. And so, yeah, we get the gaslighting from everywhere, from the narcissist, from
Totally.
society. Then we
Yes.
gaslight ourselves because we
We
go, oh,
gaslight
maybe it is
ourselves.
me. I'm just being too sensitive. Now,
Yes.
when Eileen made this joke about the narcissist, it stopped me in my tracks. And I looked at her and I thought, she's my person. So I started seeing her as a private client. And that was really life-changing for me to have someone hold space for me who'd had that same experience and who could say,
Yes.
I know, babe. So, a very long story short, I had just such a rapid transformation from hypnotherapy. It completely changed me. The peace that it gave me, I got out of that flight or flight, out of that
Yes.
hypervigilant state. I was able just to enjoy my life again. The simple things in life, my children, sitting in the garden having a cup of tea became joyful. And so when I would sit at my bank job, I worked in a country bank, we were very quiet, so I had lots of spare time. And I started Googling hypnotherapy courses. I thought, maybe I'll do that, maybe I
Yes.
will. And that very same week, Eileen, my hypnotherapist, put on her Facebook page that she was now starting to train hypnotherapists. Would anybody be interested?
Oh, that's
So
wonderful.
I said to her, I'm going to specialize in narcissism. This is my calling. I'm going to help people. And interestingly enough, though, when I completed my hypnotherapy studies and I told my family and friends that I was going to specialize in this,
Yes.
people told me not to do it. People said, oh, that's too heavy. People can't cope with that. Don't,
Yes,
you'll push
yes.
people away. Don't do it. And it's so funny, because I kept thinking to myself, but I needed this. There's other people who need this, but other people said, no, just say that you do anxiety. Just say that you do nail biting or smoking. And I did that for a long time because, when you start out in something new, you're very impressionable. You listen to what other people say. But like I said earlier, people were booking in for me for things like alcohol reduction or fears and phobias. And it turned out that they had experienced this as well.
Yes.
So they were being sent to me. And I realized, I came to this awakening that this is my calling. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, because these people were being sent to me without realizing consciously that they were seeking me out as the person. And as I got to know them, we were uncovering that they had experienced these relationships and patterns as well. So now I'm loud and proud. This is what I do. This is what I specialize in it. And it's wonderful, wonderful work. I love it so much. It is my reason for getting out of bed every morning. It's amazing.
That's wonderful. It is really important work. And I've found in my own practice, because I also work with narcissistic and toxic relationship recovery. So many people have gone to, whether it's their friends first, and then they seek out counseling, they seek out a psychologist, but that they still don't feel actually seen or heard. And I feel too, because the pattern of narcissism is, because quite often it's the sensitive, it's the empath, it's the highly intelligent, emotionally intelligent person that they attract, and therefore we do tend to gaslight ourselves quite a lot, because we're more prone to self-reflection. We're more prone to asking, well, okay, what was my part in this, and how can I make it better? And so therefore it's so easy not to actually feel seen and heard, because it's like, well, try it this way, do it this, and you're like, well, I've already done that. It doesn't work. So often standard therapy doesn't really apply.
I agree. And like you and I have discussed before, we're very open with our clients about our own experiences. And I know in other forms of traditional therapy, the therapists aren't allowed to talk about their own experiences. It's against the rules that they're governed by. And we have the freedom to be able to share that with our clients. And we're not coming at it from a place of making the session about ourselves, but we're coming at it from a place of saying to this person in front of us, I hear you. I really do hear you. I understand you. I believe you. And so many people will say to us, I feel believed for the very first time.
Yes,
I feel validated for the very first time. And even that, before we've even got to the hypnosis part of our session, just that validation for those people to finally feel believed and validated and held is so important.
Yes, totally. Because what comes with that, that pattern is self-doubt, a lot of self-doubt. With the toxicity, all the control, that's why we doubt. There's all this, oh, hang on a minute, which is again a part of the gaslighting, but it's, helping people have those light bulb moments, and it's like, oh, wow, okay. Oh, I get it now, that validation. And then they do feel safe, and then you can help them start to let go, to help them rewire their nervous system, to get them out of the fight, flight, freeze response, and to create boundaries, healthier boundaries. Because I think too, it's quite often as well, even in the journey of boundaries, it's not that you let them walk all over you either in the situation. But it's just that they'll try and make you feel bad for even putting your boundaries up in the first place. So that's why it can be very confusing. It's like, but I did that. I did put my boundary up, and I find that there is a lot more, I guess, confusion as to, because normally, reason and emotional intelligence tells you if you just say it this way or you just do this. And like with I don't want to say normal, but with reason and rationality, it's supposed to work, right?
Correct. I mean,
Then it doesn't work with these personality types. And then it's like, but why, So, and they're married to them, or they've got family members, or their whole job is dependent, they're dependent on their job. And yet they've got these really toxic personalities that they just feel like, oh my God, like this is next level. I feel like I can't move. I can't move forward. I'm always blocked, or I feel trapped, or, So yeah, I feel to be able to help them understand it is so important, and to give them the tools is just so empowering for them.
And you make a really good point, because what the tools or the rules around dealing with these people are different. How many times are we told within our own experiences, just sit the person down and tell them how it's making you feel? Sounds like amazing advice, doesn't it? But whatever you give over to a narcissistic person is then eventually weaponized against you.
Totally. It becomes a weapon. Yeah.
Having to educate people, there's a whole new playbook dealing with these types of personalities, how you can protect yourself, how to communicate if you have to communicate with these people. Very, very important. So
it's so important, because because sometimes people can't always immediately walk away, because it's tied to income, or tied to children, or tied to family. And again, sometimes in walking away, it's when you leave them that it can become at times quite dangerous,
absolutely,
physically, emotionally, financially, mentally, because they don't like that you've left. So therefore they're going to, double down even harder on trying to control the situation, control the outcome, control you. So,
and that's why it's so important for people to do this work, because abuse doesn't end when you leave an abuser.
No.
It, like you say, it continues. So unfortunately, removing yourself from the situation is not necessarily, and most likely not, the end of it.
Yes, I agree. And so it's important to be able, because I remember I was like, oh, well, I've just left.
It's going to be amazing now. Onwards and upwards. It was just the start of a new toxic beginning.
It's like literally deer in the headlights. It's like, oh my God, what? Wow. Oh my God. Like, isn't that, I drew the line. I really drew a line in the sand. And then it's just, double down, triple down, and
so it's not only then, it's not the trauma of you've left this traumatic relationship, that's been the breakup. There's so many other things that come with it. There's the people in your life that you really relied and trusted on who don't believe you.
Yes.
don't believe
that's
what you've experienced.
so true, Lisa. Yes,
Then there's the smear campaign from the person
yes.
you've been with who, the stories about your mental instability,
Yeah.
classic 101. Yeah,
That's classic
classic
101.
101,
Oh, geez. And then you're sitting in front of a therapist going, have I got borderline or have I got bipolar? That's what a lot of people go through. They really question their own mental state as a result of the backlash.
Absolutely. And the financial abuse. So, for example, the man that I was with that for over a decade of my life, the separation, like you say, you don't just separate and life's good. He
No.
dragged out our financial separation for 5 years. 5 years I was in that state of limbo of not knowing if I was going to get what was owed to me. And what I did eventually get was a very small drop in the ocean of what I
Yes,
really should have got.
yes.
But it was 5 years, and that was it's a deliberate, calculated way to keep the other person unable to heal and move forward. And
Yes.
so I think that people talk about bad breakups and divorces and things, but when a narcissist is involved, it is to an extent that people haven't experienced it, have
Yes, that's
very
true.
little understanding about. Yeah.
They do. They really do. And I think hence why I know there is a lot more awareness, but I feel like and sometimes it feels like, well, every second person is a narcissist these days. And I think there is a big difference between, and I'm certainly no psychologist. I have a lived experience, and I've, for over 20 years been in this space with women and men because it's not gender specific. I've really lived in this, dwelled in this space. So yeah, it's very challenging at
Yeah.
times.
But the amazing news is that the work that we do is very, very effective. This completely can turn people's lives around. You already mentioned that nervous system regulation, which is just key, isn't it? Key for this work, because the people that we see have been dysregulated, living in that fight or
Yes.
flight hypervigilant state for years and years and years. And I always describe it as I felt like I was running on a treadmill or one of those mouse wheels 24 hours a day, not only when I was in the relationship, but for years afterwards. Even though I'd moved into safety, I'd moved into a healthy, happy, safe marriage, and everything in my
Yes.
life was good, but my body was still stuck, waiting for that next thing to happen. So the work that we
Yes.
do primarily, and it would be the same for you, I'm assuming, is just that first session with our client is we're just holding them, holding space. And
Totally.
the first lot of hypnosis we do is just to create that sense of safety and to calm that nervous system down. So, so important.
It's very important. It's so important. And I know for myself personally, I always felt like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
I'd just freeze. It was like, wow, just the shock of, okay, we're here again.
Yeah.
I feel it does take quite a number of years to be able to feel calm and feel safe. And I know in myself, it's hypnotherapy really helped for me because I was able to go inside and reconnect with myself and go deeper back into confidence, into faith, into trust, and my body would start to relax. And I feel too when you do leave, because you have that immediacy, because I'd always felt like I was being threatened, stood over, lorded over,
Yes.
so but but it is hard because sometimes people can't leave, so it's like, well, okay, how can how can I actually navigate this system whilst feeling safe, whilst still being able to regulate myself, because they can put you on this feeling of being defensive. You're feeling like a lot of people feel like they have to defend because they like to attack you, so that you're in you are dysregulated, and then you can be at their mercy in a way. So it can be a vicious cycle, and I really believe that the hypnotherapy, as I'm sure this is why we do what we do, it can really help empower people to come back to themselves and give them the tool. Like sometimes people, they haven't been able to breathe properly in years.
Correct. Absolutely. And I love that you say that, because nearly every client that comes to see me for this work will say the words, "I don't know who I am anymore." And that's
No.
one of the most important things I think the hypnosis gives them, is they reconnect with their true self again. They find who they really are again, because they've been living in a state of desperately trying to please another person that's unpleasable, and they've lost. I remember after leaving my relationship, and I was cleaning the house a few months later, and I was home alone cleaning the house, and I thought, I'm going to put some music on. And I put some music on, and I was dancing and singing, and I remembered in that moment that I hadn't listened to the music that I'd liked in years, because every time I put what I liked on, he'd come in and say, "What's this? This is shit. This is shit. What's this crap?" So it just chips away at you, those little things. And so I stopped doing it. Even when I was alone, I stopped listening to that music, because that little voice was in there going, "Well, that's shit."
Yeah.
So just the freedom of even, I can listen to my own music again. Wow. Coming back to self. Such an important piece when dealing with recovery from this type of thing.
It's vital, I feel. It's vital. And that's what you get. Your clients going, "I don't know who I am anymore. I don't feel connected to myself anymore." There is a massive disconnect. And then it's like, I know for myself, it was, with my significant toxic relationship, it was like I was in it, and already I was so used to the chaos, that I'd grown up in that. And then by the time I recognized that I was in it, it was like, right, how do I get out of it? And it took me, a long time to be able to do that, because there were children involved and everything like that. But I guess that's the other thing too. When you have children with, it can be very difficult, because then also, and this is why we get, there's so much shame, because you judge, why didn't you leave? And it's like, well, there's children involved. And sometimes it's not always easy to just leave when you've got children involved, because then the children also will get weaponized.
Correct.
So,
is why don't people leave? Because the list is a mile long, isn't it?
It's a mile long, and there's too much shame around it, which doesn't help.
Religion, culture, community.
Yes.
And what people find is sometimes it is that choice of, do I choose myself, or do I choose my culture, my community, my religion? Because sometimes people, they lose so much if they choose themselves. Not only the relationship, they may lose their children, they may lose their church, they may lose their extended family. There's such a personal price to pay if they choose themselves, which is why.
That's right. Some people choose to stay, and it's, you hear it, well, it's better the devil I know. And again, like I have no judgment around that either. And I find in those situations when the choice is to stay, it's not that the hypnotherapy or the coaching becomes irrelevant. It's still highly relevant, because it gives them tools and the confidence to actually understand what is going on with the patterns, and therefore they're not confused anymore. They know exactly what they're dealing with, and they can boundary up and then go, "Oh, well, that's right. I'm not going to take this personally." It's all those negative comments, the gaslighting. It's like water off a duck's back. And then they're able, I guess what happens, because if you're choosing to stay, is that you can stay, but you're not necessarily choosing to invest so much emotionally anymore. And once we can then, choose to invest in ourselves, then we can confidently be ourselves, no matter where we are in the world and no matter who we're with. And that's what I find so empowering. And I know there's many processes to empowerment, and I love meditation, and that's kind of how I got into hypnotherapy. I was like, oh, well, maybe this is another way to describe it, or build the bridge back to self, because meditation's woo-woo. And then I realized people
You
still
know,
think
right?
hypnotherapy is woo-woo,
Oh, we can talk about that one for hours.
But at the same, it is. It just gives you that you're able to connect to that essential part of who you are. And I feel
Yeah.
like with these toxic relationships, as we know, when you're starting to sit there and unpack it all, you go, sometimes it's back to the inner child, isn't it?
Hmm.
Right. So, where did you shrink yourself? Where did you start to mold yourself? Where did you start to, you know, not express yourself for the sake of, making your mother happy or making
Yeah.
your father happy? Or
Making other people
when
comfortable.
did you start to disappear? Because you were too much, or you were not enough, or you weren't,
We tend to learn these patterns.
totally.
What we are trained to tolerate or to change ourselves to
Yes.
accept as children, we end up tolerating in adulthood. So, like ourselves and a lot of our clients, there's a long time before we realize that the relationship we're in is dysfunctional because it
Mm,
very much mirrors something that we've learnt in childhood. So I
mm,
didn't even realize that I was in an abusive relationship when I was in it. Then, and
mm,
people will often say to me, "Didn't you see the red flags?" There were no
mm,
red flags. There were
mm,
none.
mm,
The behavior, the treatment that I experienced, I had experienced all those things growing up also. So there
mm-hmm.
was nothing there that felt unusual for me. So,
Yes,
that's that point that red flags are different for everybody, depending on what you're experiencing.
exactly. This is true as well. Yes. What is one person's red flag is not another person's red flag,
That's it.
So yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. So yeah, I'm glad you're actually focusing your talk around this time around, why didn't you leave?
Yeah, and I've got
Take some of the
a
shame out
client.
of the situation, I feel.
Yeah, I have a lady in her 80s I've worked with for some time, and she has made the decision not to leave the relationship. And she owns that. And she has said, look, I'm at the stage in my life where financially we're very comfortable. We have a lovely big home. We basically live separate lives in the big
Mm,
home now. Have a great life. She has a very active social life. She has lots of great friends and family, and she's made the decision that she's not going to disrupt things. She wants to just live the rest of her life as
mm,
peacefully as she can, and that's fine. We've done a lot of work on her really connecting with her true inner self and her
mm.
confidence and not being reactive to what he's done.
Yes.
And she's in a great place. She really is.
Yeah.
So leaving isn't the journey for everybody.
No, no, it's not. No, it's not.
Mm,
It's not
mm,
for everybody.
yeah.
But it's great to be able to help people to return to that sense of self, again and again and again, I feel.
Yeah.
As we do, you have to do that on a daily basis, return to yourself again and again. Some days it's, all day, every day if you've got it, you to get distracted or whatever, or there's a trigger in your life. It's like, oh, that's right. Okay. All right. Come back to the practice. Let's go. You know what you're doing now. You know what you're doing.
Well, that's it,
You've
isn't
got
it?
this.
We talk to our clients about this time. Hypnotherapy doesn't mean that life doesn't throw you curveballs anymore.
That's right. I think a lot of people in this journey of self-empowerment, I get so many clients that they have this kind of peak experience and think that that's where they need to be for the rest of their lives. And yet it's like
Hmm.
that's just one moment in time,
Yeah,
and that's what got you to where you are right now. But then there's more to go. There's always another onion layer. There's always something to learn and to keep
yeah,
going. And so it's so important, yeah, to have the tools as
yeah,
well as doing the work, because doing the
yeah,
work gives you the tools to deal with life. So like I said, a client, sometimes, you've got your beautiful dress on and your makeup all done and everything's perfect and it's all wonderful, and you walk outside and then a truck goes past and there's mud everywhere.
love it. I love that.
No matter what you do, you can't stop those
That's
sorts of things.
it.
Again, you can choose how you respond. We've got any power over is,
Yeah,
okay, how in this moment am I going to choose to respond to this? You know, even if you're feeling reactive, even if you're feeling the feelings, you can still make that choice, right? How do I respond?
Mm.
You know, so there is a choice.
And
Whereas sometimes
sometimes,
in the middle of trauma, you don't, and that's the thing, you know, it's almost like they don't want you to have that power. They don't want you to be able to choose something other than, you know, what they're going through, what they want you to do. And when I look at it, and I saw Gabor Mate a few years ago, and one of the very last questions was about, you know, well, what's this character, the narcissist? And I see it in my own work. It's like, you know, you're dealing with someone, he said they're like 2-year-olds having a tantrum.
that's
You know,
perfect, the perfect way to describe
and
it.
I feel like that's what it is. And you know, and as mothers, we know what a 2-year-old, like the force of a 2-year-old throwing itself on the floor and being really angry.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to lean out and just let them actually have that tantrum on the floor and lean out, you know,
Yes.
and then go in and pick them up and give them a cuddle, and sometimes they're receptive to it, and other times it takes a little while for them to calm down, you know. But that's, and when I kind of realized, I guess, with my significant, and there's been a few in my own life without oversharing, and they really, you can see that it is like a massive tantrum from the inner child.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And they refuse,
Constant.
their blinkers on. They don't want to see it any other way than their way, because they actually don't have capacity.
Yeah. That
And once
constant
you,
need for control and
yeah,
admiration, and yeah, you
yeah,
say they don't have the
they
capacity.
actually don't have the capacity. And
Mm.
I feel like once you understand that as well, like on a full body level, it's like, that's right. They don't have the capacity to meet my needs.
That's right.
Because often when you're in relationship with one, you know, you're trying to parent, you're trying to, you know, your boss at work, like there's so many women, my boss at work, he's so controlling. And it's like, but they're trying to explain it yet another way, or present
Yes,
the information yet another
that's right.
way, and it
That's
never,
right.
ever, ever, ever works. And
And
then
that's
I'm
a
like,
really important point you make,
they
that
don't
people need
have
to,
capacity.
so you have to understand it,
Hmm.
accept it, and then
Yes,
decide what you're going to do with that information. And to stop
exactly.
spending any of your time and energy hoping that that person is going to change,
Yes,
because they're
totally.
not going to, not going to.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So there is
yes.
power in that knowledge.
So much power.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much power. And so for you, like in your daily practice, and it doesn't have to be a hypnotherapy practice or anything like that, but what helps you to feel aligned in your mind, you know, heart, mind, and
Mm.
body? We can
The,
bring soul into it too if you like, but you know,
yeah, all
what
together.
helps you to feel aligned and connected to yourself?
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that they're non-negotiables for me, because they make me work at my best capacity. So always meditation and yoga every day. As much time outside in my garden as I can get. I love
Mm-hmm.
being in my garden. Yeah, fresh air. And yeah, for me, look, it's been a long journey, and I'd say the last 10 years had been the most. But for me, and I think one of the most challenging things about healing, but it's so necessary for people to do, is to actually really do a really good audit of who is in your life, and to walk,
Mm-hmm.
and you really need to walk away from people that aren't supporting where you want to be going with your healing. And for me, the people that are in my life now are all just loving, beautiful beings of light and
Mm-hmm.
respect and love. And so for me, the people I surround myself is vitally key. That I have very good, I'm not going to use the word healed, because I don't feel like we ever stop that healing. People
Yeah.
who are committed to growth and healing. And I've got rid of all the drama llamas. And, there are people I found with my journey, there were people that wanted to stay in that, they felt defined by being traumatized, and they wanted to
Yes,
stay in that
yes,
energy. And I realized as I started to get myself out of it that some people want to stay there. They want to keep
they do.
perpetuating that.
Mm.
So I have felt that apart from all of those practices that I talk about, moving my body every day, my yoga, my meditation, I eat a really good diet. That's all of that's really important to me.
Mm.
But the people I surround myself with, that energy, is so, so important.
Keeping good company, really
You
important.
must,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And it is an act of self-love to walk away from relationships that don't support that.
Yes, that no longer serve you. Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah.
And
And
you
so,
can walk
yeah,
away with love, you know. You
absolutely.
can walk away with love and respect.
There are
Most
people that I
definitely.
love and care for very, very much, but
Yeah.
I can't spend time with them anymore
Mm.
because yeah, it's not serving me,
Mm.
it's not serving my peace. And there's
Mm.
I've worked very hard to have a peaceful life now, and I
Mm.
won't let anybody disturb that peace.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
No, that's really well said. I think you do, once you've been through something really significant like that, you do want to preserve your inner peace. Not, I mean, not at all costs, because life is not like
Yeah.
that, but
Mm.
because you spend years in that state of not feeling safe, and then to finally
Yeah.
created a beautiful place where you feel safe and you can relax and you can create and you can have fun and you can enjoy is yeah, that's what we
Mm.
all would like. I feel as humans we've all got that you know, within us, and I feel like that's that's a not negotiable, you know.
Yeah.
I agree. And I guess, what would you, for anyone listening, because I know a lot of people come to me when they're feeling at that crossroads. What do
Mm.
I do? What do I do? Should I stay or should I go? But I guess for those that are listening and they're identifying with what we've spoken about, and are like, okay, because I know it took me a couple of years to leave, you
Yeah.
know, as well, to build myself up emotionally and to trust in that, okay, I know this is not right. I know I need to leave. I know I don't deserve to be treated like this. I know this is not right. I know that I can't make this person happy. This person has to make themselves happy. You know,
Yeah.
you kind of start to really, you know, you really are empowering yourself and you're really leaning into that. And because again, I think sometimes in traditional therapy, it's like, well, you know, if you just work on yourself, it's all going to be okay. So when
Yeah.
people are at that point, what's I guess before we go, what would you like to tell them? You know, there is kind of light at the end of the tunnel. Way, what would you know, because I know there's so many people that are stuck in that space. Do I stay or do I go?
Yeah.
What do I do? What would you say to them?
I think the first part of answering that is what we touched on a little bit earlier, is that education piece, that understanding that that person absolutely is not going to change. They don't have the capacity
Yes,
to change.
they don't have
So
capacity.
there needs to be a place where the person wondering, should I stay, should I go? There's an acceptance, to stop holding out that hope that there's going to be change, because there's
Yes.
a lot of that isn't there. So much of that. And look, I honestly think a lot of the time too, if you're wondering if someone's right for you, if you're questioning,
Mm-hmm.
here's your answer. You're wondering,
Exactly.
is this my soulmate? If you're questioning, there's your answer. But my
Mm.
other second part of answer to that question is, we don't know how much, but how much time do you have left on this planet?
Mm.
And how do you want to be feeling for the rest of this time on your planet? How do you want your life to be for the rest of the time that you have on this planet? And yes, it is terrifying to leave. And yes, it is lonely for a while. But I have
Mm.
never, ever known someone to walk away from a narcissist and to say, oh,
Yeah.
I wish I'd stayed.
That is so true.
Yeah. So
That's
it's gonna be
so
hard. It
true.
is gonna be hard,
Yes.
but it is gonna be so much better at the end once you've
Yes.
gone to get
Yeah.
that peace back in your life.
Yes, once you've built that bridge and you've walked across the bridge and
Yes.
you're on the other side. Yeah.
Yeah. And when people leave, they've got to find the right people to surround themselves with.
Yes.
So find professional help with somebody that specialises in it. Doesn't have to be
Mm.
us, but we're a really good choice. Find someone that specialises. And I really do need to say, really, you need to find someone who's had the experience themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree with you there. I
Yeah.
remember sitting there looking at somebody going, oh my God, hello, knock, knock, knock. Have you actually
Yeah.
ever, there
And
was no
so,
relatability,
yeah.
absolutely no relatability. And that doesn't mean that, their sessions get filled up with all of our stories and experiences, because again, 9 times out of 10, our clients are empathic, very emotionally sensitive, and a lot of in there, well, I find I tend to attract those sorts of clients, but they're like, I felt that person didn't understand me.
Yes.
I felt they really didn't get what I was trying to say. I felt, a lot of that, they use a lot of that feeling language, and hence that's why I just feel that it is also, as practitioners, it is really important to understand the characteristics of these toxic personalities so that we can actually, hold that space, that space for people that have really gone through that type of trauma. It's trauma-informed care. And there's research on it now. There's a lot of research. When you have lived through narcissism and toxic relationships, you often suffer from, complex PTSD
Yes.
because you're repeatedly traumatized and you're re-traumatized, right? Or PTSD, you're constant. It is deep trauma.
It is.
So yeah, so this work becomes, and that's I think why I'm so passionate about it as well. It becomes
Yes.
really, really, really vital. And I didn't wake up, as a little girl imagining I'm going to work with people with trauma. They're
Well, we're
just sitting
thinking
there
about
with
being
someone.
thinking
Yeah.
about being rock stars and flight attendants.
Yeah, I was too. I mean, I did. I don't know. I'm sitting there with I used to put socks down my bra and like get a microphone. And so, because I don't know, I was young and anyway, whatever. But, and pretend I was on TV. I did end up on TV, but, not as a rock star.
That's it.
Not as a rock star, but anyway, that's a whole other story. But yeah, this work is just so important. And that's it. Like I found, you just through being you would, and that's the thing, through being you will attract, because everyone's like, what's my niche? What's my niche? Yet sometimes your niche finds you, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it does.
Because that's
Absolutely.
what you've experienced.
Mm.
And it's like in birth, I've worked with birth for so long. And again, in birth, I've attracted many clients that have had narcissistic parents or they've had a narcissistic ex and now they're with their one and, things like that. So it's found me in various forms, in my life. So yeah, your niche will find you.
I agree. Agree.
So yeah, in birth, like as much as you can have a wonderful, supportive, beautiful man going, I believe in you. 9 times out of 10, the woman knows wholeheartedly you have no idea what's going on right now in my body. You're not having contractions right now. They know. They can go, I hear you. Women can, rather than some women feel irritated by it. It's like, go away,
Yeah.
you don't know, and other women are like, oh, honey, thank you for the support. But in the, like, go away, like they know. And that's, I feel like that's like therapy, or even coaching. It's you
Mhm.
need people in this space of personal growth, personal and professional growth. You do need people to actually have walked the talk.
Yeah.
It
And I
makes a big
think too,
difference.
when people have been through a breakup with a narcissist too, the friends and family that you talk to about it, you've got to be really quite selective there too,
You
because people
do,
people will
yes.
give you very well-meaning advice, but
Yes.
they're coming from their level of experience, and if they haven't had these type of toxic interactions, they're not understanding how deep
Yes. How
the
deep it goes. Yeah. Because it's not just a flippant, oh, or a mindless comment. Quite often it feels intensely directed. It feels malicious. You know, it's bullying, it can be harassment, it's intimidation, and it can be mental, emotional, and physical.
Absolutely.
You know, and sometimes, as they know, and now science and all the studies know, you know, when there's this repeated emotional abuse, it's like someone has punched you. So that's why this work is so, so important.
The good news is people often ask me if it's difficult working with traumatized people, and my answer to that is absolutely not. I am so energized by the work, and it almost, in a weird way, when I have a first session with someone who's been through one of these experiences and they are very traumatized and they don't know who they are
Yes.
anymore and they are really dysregulated, but at the end of that session when they walk out, I am excited because I know that by the time we've finished working together, that person's life is going to be completely turned around again. They're going to know who they are. They're going to be feeling calm and in control. They're not going to react to triggers like they once used to. They're excited about the future. They start to truly know themselves, to love themselves, to put boundaries up, to put themselves first. So the work that we do matters and it works.
There's nothing more satisfying about seeing your client, all the light bulbs go on. They've come in and it's like they're heavy and you know, and then they walk out like this shiny person. You know, that light that people get when it's like, oh wow. Because that's what I love about the, you know, the breathing and the hypnotherapy is they get that experience of letting go. It's not just talking, they get an experience of the let go. They get an experience of connecting back to themselves.
Correct.
They get an experience of what it likes to feel spacious, you know, when everything has felt constricted and contracted and
that's right.
I can't breathe. So,
and when we give them that experience, the coming days and weeks between sessions, it's the clarity that comes with that. The clarity of, oh, I understand that pattern. I understand what's really happening now. So that is, I think, not only does the magic happen when the client is in hypnosis, but it's the space
they take it with
afterwards. It's beautiful. It's brilliant.
Now, beautiful lady. So how do people get to connect with you, Lisa? So let's if you want to share your
Sure.
You know,
So
your I guess your website, is that how people would connect with you?
That's it. So they can find me at healthyhypnotherapist.com. And you can also find me on Instagram and Facebook under the Healthy Hypnotherapist also.
Okay, great. And I'll put a link to your website as well. So people can actually, you know, click on the link and find you and book you.
Amazing.
And I'm really looking forward to having you at the conference.
I can't wait.
And I think that's going to be exciting. And for those of you, I'm going to put a link as well to that because we are going to be a whole group of us are going to be gathering and sharing at the Heart Mind Body Collective. So the common thread is that we're all hypnotherapists of one way, shape or form. We all have our various niches and this is just going to be magical. And it's on the 17th and 18th of October this year in Sydney at the Crown Plaza, Sydney Airport in Mascot. So it's all very exciting. So I'm going to pop the link to that as well. Thank you so much for joining me today, Lisa. And I'm sure you and I are going to get on and do some more work together and create some more podcasts and help more people because that's what this is about, is helping people and making a difference. So thank you so much. We are doing it.
So good. So good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Heart, Mind, Body Collective podcast. You can connect with your host, Rebekah Fisher, at rebekah-fisher.com and explore more at heartmindbodycollective.org.